Foreign-born players in the Super Rugby squads. Super Rugby 2020. All the squads are out now. Why don't we have a look and see how many foreign-born players are in each of these squads. Generally, they try to limit the number of foreign-born players in their squads. So, like in New Zealand, we want New Zealanders playing in Super Rugby so that the All Black selectors have got more Kiwis to pick from, so they do limit it. But if you're keen to just get to the numbers, probably jump here to this time. But I'm going to go over just a few caveats about this video before I get into the list. But I'll go through the teams from the fewest number of foreign-born players through to the most. And at the end, we'll tally up where all these foreigners are coming from. But yes, a few caveats. So it's just where they're born, not where they're raised. So there's a few guys who you'll raise an eyebrow at and go, that guy's not foreign. But just where they're born, I've done loads of two foreign-born videos before. And it's always a bit of a point of contention. But this is just where they are born. So there's loads of reasons why you might not be born in the country you end up playing for. But that's not what I'm looking at here. Just where were they born? To be fair, there was a few guys I couldn't actually 100% confirm where they were born. Maybe 10. So I've kind of given them the benefit of the doubt. I've looked as far and wide as I could to find the birthplace of these guys confirmed somewhere. Not all of them have it confirmed. And to be honest, a couple that I found on one source, I actually found corrected somewhere else. I'm looking at you, Wikipedia. Wikipedia was wrong a few times. So I made a couple of corrections there. And for the percentages I'm going to give, I've just rounded them so they are like a whole number as a percentage rather than like point whatever. So let's get cracking. The numbers. There are 3 teams on 98%. There's not a single team which is 100% without having a foreign-born player. But the Jaguares, the Sharks, and the Lions are all 98% locally born. And I should say I'm not including any of the training squads, wider training squads, or development squads in this. This is just the main central squads. I've had to do the maths myself, so there might be the odd error as well. I should include that in the caveats. But those 3 teams, 98%. They've each got one player who is foreign-born. So for the Jaguares, Sebastian Cancellieri, he's one of those typical examples of it doesn't really count, but it still counts if you're looking at just the birthplace. So he was born in the USA, but to Argentinian parents who moved back to Argentina. So he's not really foreign, but just looking at his birthplace, yes. For the Sharks, it's Madosh Tambwe, who was born in Zaire. And for the Lions, it's Vincent Chituka, who was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So those 3 teams, 98% locally born guys. The Stormers are next. I'm going to put them at 12th because you got kind of 3 for 15th equal. So 12th, which is in terms of having the fewest foreign-born players. First will have the most foreign-born players. The Stormers have got 2. So they're on 96%. They got Jamie Roberts. Nobody's going to complain about having that guy, and that's a wonderful bit of news from Wales. And Michael Hasna is from Namibia. So one guy from Europe, one guy from a neighbouring African country. So the Stormers are there in 12th. 11th is the Bulls with 90% locally born. They've got Divan Rousseau and Louis van der Vesthuizen from Namibia, again, that kind of neighbouring country. Tim Agaba is born in Uganda, and Nafi Tui Tavaki is from New Zealand. You don't see that many kind of Kiwi-born players playing in South African teams. You generally see it the other way around. There is one Kiwi guy playing for the Bulls for the next 2 years, I believe. I said he has got a 2-year contract. The Blues are there in 10th, so they are 85% locally born. They've got an interesting mixture that there's not like one set of guys from any particular country. You've got Ezekiel Lindemuth, who was born in Samoa. Ofatuanga Fasi, who was born in Tonga. Remember, he's another one that I've researched before. He went to school in New Zealand. He was like the head boy of his high school. So if you're going to go down that road of not really foreign, he's another example, but still born in Tonga. Akira Iwane, born in Japan. Not really Japanese, but there you go. Finlay Christie was born in Scotland. Joe Marchant, born in England. And Imoni Narawa was born in Fiji. So the Blues, if nothing else, are the most New Zealand of the New Zealand teams if you're going down the route of where were they born. Next in ninth is the Hurricanes. They are 84% locally born. They've got Tyrell Lomax, who was born in Australia. Ricky Telly, Wes Husson, Cobus van Fake, all born in South Africa. Vaea Fafita and Jonathan Taumatene, born in Tonga. So, yeah, you've kind of already gotten through the South African conference. Those teams, including the Jaguares, were all the most locally produced. Now we're getting into the Kiwi teams. Highlanders and Crusaders are both on 82%. So they're 8th. For the Highlanders, it's Tokolaki, Frizzell, Fakatava, and Tima Whainganuku was born in Tonga. Josh Dixon and Chris Kuriandrani, born in Australia, and Tavita Nabura, born in Fiji. For the Crusaders, Michael Alatoa was born in Australia. Oli Jaeger, born in England. He's one that was raised in Ireland, so he's kind of all over the place. Isi Tuangafasi, Fetuli Paya, and Lester Whainganuku, born in Tonga, and Severis and Manasa Mataele, born in Fiji. Have you guessed who's number one yet? We're about halfway through. The Brumbies are in 6th, so the first of our Aussie teams. They are 81% locally born. You got Jerome Brown, Ire Simone, born in New Zealand. You got Guy Porter, born in England. Murray Douglas, Scotland. Tavita Kuriandrani, Fiji. Solomon Akata was born in Tonga. And Tony Pulu was born in the USA. So a bit of a mixed bag there. Another Aussie team is next. 5th is the Waratahs. They are 80% locally born. Tetra Faulkner, Charlie Gamble, Lalakai Foketi, Cam Clark. Remember, his dad is the commentator, the Aussie commentator. Greg Clark, Cam Clark, and Carmichael Hunt, all born in New Zealand. Remember, Greg Clark, the commentator, used to commentate in New Zealand a long time ago. Michael McDonald, Ireland. Tepai Moeroa was the Cook Islands. And Siosifa Lisala was born in Tonga. So that's the Tars in 5th. Almost at the top 3, but 4th is the Chiefs. They are 79% locally born players. Nepola Lala Tamua Manu, both born in Samoa. Aiden Ross and Tian Falcon, born in Australia. Samsoni Takiaho, born in Tonga. Tyler Ardron, Canada. Dylan Nell, South Africa. Peter Gus Soakula and Kini Naholo, born in Fiji. So that's 4th. Who is the top 3? They are all Aussie Conference teams. And remember, largely part of this is down to my immigration. But anyway, Reds, 70% locally born. 3rd place. Jean-Pierre Smith and Liam Wright, both born in South Africa. From what I know about Liam Wright, he lived, I think, most of his life in Australia. Taniela Tupou, Tonga, but also remember he was partially received his education in New Zealand. Brendan Paingamosa, Lukan Salakai Aloto, and Chris Whaia-Waisautia, New Zealand. Seru Uru, Filippo Dagudu, and Henry Spate, all Fiji. And Scott Malolua as Samoa. That's the Reds. You've guessed who's first, haven't you? 2nd is the Rebels, 62% locally born. Jermaine Ainsley, Ana Raurangi, Jordan Uelisi, born in New Zealand. Meza Rasmus, Ruan Smith, Ross Haylett-Petty, Gideon Koglenberg, Ryan Lawrence, and Dane Haylett-Petty, all born in South Africa. Richard Hardwick, I didn't know this, was born in Namibia. Isi Nasarani, Frank Lomani, Marika Korobeti, all born in Fiji, and Harry Potter, funnily enough, born in England. There you go. So your number one team for having the most foreign-born players, it's the Sunwolves. They are first, 16% locally born. I make them to have 5 players who are Japanese-born. There was a lot of talk after the great run the Japanese went on at the Rugby World Cup that maybe the Sunwolves would avoid the axe, but I don't think they're going to get that investment from Japan in that final year. So essentially they've put together a squad of, you can call them mercenaries if you want, but yeah, there's been a lot of changes in that squad. So the Sunwolves list. Jared Adams from Samoa, Tavita Tupo, Onehunga Havili, Siosaya Fifita, all from Tonga, Jaba Bregvadza from Georgia. It's good to see him back. Rudy Page, Conrad van Vuren, Ginkus van Feyck, JJ Engelbrecht, Garth April, all from South Africa. Sione Asi, Chris Eves, Lenny Apisai, Ben Teo, Taula Tassi, Mitch Jacobson, Mateaki Kafatolu, Brendan O'Connor, and Tom Rowe. New Zealand and Australia is Corey Thomas, Jake Schatz, James Dargaville, Jordan Jackson Hope, Michael Stolberg, Ben Hine, and Ifi Ma'afu. So there you go. That's all the foreign-born players in Super Rugby that I could find. Like I said, there may be the odd mistake here and there, but I think for the most part that's pretty accurate. Interestingly, it's the South African teams plus the Jaguares who are mostly locally born. Then it seems to be mostly the New Zealand teams, then mostly the Aussie teams with Sunwolves in their final year. Number one. If they weren't getting the cut, I would expect more Japanese players to be playing here, but they are being cut. So how does that rank in terms of countries? You got one from Georgia, Wales, Zaire, Congo, Uganda, Canada, Japan. Remember that's Akira Ioane. Cook Islands, Ireland. 2 from USA and Scotland. 4 from Namibia. 4 from England. 6 from Samoa. 12 from Fiji. 13 Australia. 16 Tonga. 17 South Africa. And 23 Kiwis. So there you go. I thought that was an interesting look just to see for Super Rugby, because we've looked at internationals before, but what about Super Rugby? Is there much in the way of guys kind of mixing it up? It seems to be a thing with some sides more than others, but remember, as always with people's places of birth, there are a whole lot of factors and not everyone is just moving to get a rugby contract. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. What did you think of that? Do you think this is going to shift going forward? Do you think there's going to be more player movements? Do you think there should be more in terms of openness, or do you think it's right for countries to restrict the number of foreign players they have in their sides? But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.